We had 2 patients die during the day today and 4 more who almost died. I don't know how people have been working like this. This is too much for me. Today is April 14th. I am headed to New York. I really have never seen the San Francisco airport this empty. I mean, there's just nobody here. Still got a long flight ahead of me, but be there soon and get settled in. When the COVID pandemic hit, I really had a strong sense of guilt about not being on the front lines, not taking care of patients, and not feeling like I was doing all that I could. Almost everybody is on oxygen, and almost everybody is a COVID patient. About 8:40 in the morning, I'm heading in to the hospital. I'm guessing this is a later start than most of my days will be, but I'm just gonna get orientation and get tested for my mask and so on. Here I am with all my PPE on my head. I just came out of the unit, so I took off my gown and gloves, but you see that these goggles are a little big on my face. I've got my N95 under here. My head is small. This is a lot of equipment on my face. Anyway, I'll check back more later. So I just got back to my hotel. I just wanted to capture what my face looks like after not even that many hours. So I'm probably gonna start using Band-Aids, like preemptive Band-Aids. I was told that the hospital typically has 50 ICU beds, and they've now got 200 because of all the conversions that they've done to help take care of patients in the current pandemic. It's about 10 p.m. on April 17th. Pretty early in my shift, I had a patient who got a lot worse very quickly, and he was actually, of the 5 patients I was taking care of, he was the healthiest one. So I really hadn't mentally prepared for that. We were able to give him the treatment that he needed, and he's doing much better now. But I think that was a very quick introduction to how patients do when they've got this disease, that they can be fine one minute and then just really not the next. And they're very, very dependent on the oxygen support that they're receiving. It is April 18th, pretty early in the morning. So here we are, it's my second night here in the ICU. So far I had one patient who coded, meaning nearly died last night, and I had another patient who coded tonight, and unfortunately he didn't make it. And I just got off the phone with the patient's family, and I can definitely see how doing this day in and day out would get very, very hard. It is almost 2 a.m. on April 20th. I really feel like I'm on a roller coaster ride. The first couple nights I was here were worse than I thought they would be in terms of how the patients were doing. Tonight, from the time I walked in, there were a number of patients who really needed kind of emergency care. I'm not sure what's going to happen with those patients. It's too soon to tell, but we've had to be pretty aggressive in our interventions. But, you know, the patient who almost died last night is still here, so that's some cause for hope. A lot of these patients, even if they had normal kidneys before, have had injuries to their kidneys from the disease and from their blood pressure being low and having trouble with oxygen, and so now they need dialysis. But there's only so many machines, there's only so many nurses, there's only so many hours in a day. So who gets it? Who is deciding who gets it? Who signed up to be rationing care? I don't think any of us did. So that's kind of the latest struggle. Noticing a lot of things that are different from, you know, normal times. For example, in the ICU, typically if we need changes made to a ventilator, or if we have patients who need suctioning or anything like that, there would be a respiratory therapist who would provide that care. I think that there aren't quite enough of them to go around, so I've learned how to manipulate all sorts of ventilators. We also have many different kinds of ventilators. Usually an intensive care unit, you have the same model throughout the unit. But we have at least 3 or 4 different kinds here, many of which are not intended to be used in a continuous basis. They're made for transportation, so temporary use to get a patient from one place to another. There are challenges in getting x-rays, challenges in getting certain types of medications. These are all things that are different from what would normally be happening. I mean, if we had all the resources. It is the morning of April 20th, around 9 a.m. I gotten home from my shift and showered, and I'm getting ready to go to sleep. Last night we had a couple of patients who were close to dying, but neither of them did. One of them had gotten quite sick overnight, and we wanted to call the family so that they could have a chance to communicate with her in anticipation that this might be the last opportunity that they would have. And this was the first time that I actually watched it happen. So one of my colleagues called the patient's family and then stood over the patient's bed holding her phone up so that they could see her. And I listened to them try to say goodbye over the phone. And I couldn't help but think about, if that were my mother, how awful that would be to not be able to hold her hand. And to know that she was alone. Anyway, I just wish it didn't have to be like this. And I'm glad I haven't had to watch that 20 times or 40 times or however many times in the last few weeks, because clearly I'm not cut out for that. But I'm gonna try to watch something lighthearted and go to sleep. As physicians, we're used to fixing problems and helping people. That's why we do what we do. But when we don't have medications that work, when there aren't ventilator settings that can help people get enough oxygen and get rid of their carbon dioxide, it feels very frustrating. On top of that, a lot of the doctors here have friends or colleagues who are critically ill in other hospitals in New York. And so they're constantly thinking about and worried about those people in addition to being worried about their patients. And many of them are living apart from their families in order to prevent infecting their family members. So they're going through this very stressful, challenging time, basically on their own. So far, it seems to me that most of the people are coping by really not thinking about it and not processing it, and just showing up and doing the work as best they can and hoping things get better. Now I'm working days feeling less like a vampire. And today, somewhat miraculously, was actually kind of a good day. We had a patient who was able to come off the ventilator, which is pretty incredible because I think that hasn't happened actually in this unit since the unit opened. We're at the point now where we're starting to see fewer people get admitted every day. So things are, I think, starting to slow down a little bit, which is great. The patients we have now, though, are all really, really sick and probably will be here for quite a while. So it's not like it's totally over. It is April 24th. I had a patient today who was writing notes. So he's on the ventilator with the breathing tube, but he was handwriting notes to people, and we FaceTimed with his family, and he's mentally very with it and knows what's happening. But he's requiring a lot of oxygen from the ventilator to get oxygen into his tissues. And he's also on the younger side, so it's very hard to watch because I just don't know whether he's going to get out of this. So far, of all the people I've seen on the ventilator who have been really sick the way he is, only one person in the last 10 days has been able to get off the ventilator. But he wrote today, "I'm not giving up." So even with a breathing tube in and all sorts of IVs and tubes coming out of everything and being on all the medication that he's on, he's not giving up. It is April 25th. At least today when I came in, no one had died overnight. And hopefully no one will die today. If that happens, that would be the first 24-hour period since I've been here that we would have had no death in our little unit. I was supposed to be leaving the hospital a few hours ago, but one of my patients almost died just as I was about to leave, so I stayed to try to take care of him and to talk to his family. And anyway, so it's 11:30 now. We had 2 patients die during the day today and 4 more who almost died. It's just in the last couple of hours. You have one good day and then you have a really, really awful day right afterward. Oh, I missed my staircase. I don't know how people have been working like this. This is too much for me. I don't know how I'm gonna sleep even tonight because I'm gonna be worried about this guy and whether he's gonna make it. But I can't stay here all night. I gotta be here all day tomorrow, so I'm gonna go see if I can get some rest. It is April 26th. Yesterday was a rough day and it was long, and we lost 2 patients during the day. Neither one was totally unexpected, but it's still hard to see. As I was about to leave, we actually had 4 patients who got really, really sick at the same time and came close to dying. One of them was a patient I was following closely and felt, I guess, sort of attached to. I just didn't feel like I could leave when he was that sick. So I ended up staying until we got him sort of stabilized. I mean, he was still quite ill, but it seemed like we had helped him a little bit. So I had to call his family and help them to FaceTime with him because I wasn't sure if he was going to make it through the night. And I always feel like I'm intruding when I'm there, and I have to be there because I have to hold the camera. We don't have a holder. The patient obviously can't hold it themselves, so it's very hard to hear people tell their family member to fight and that they can get through this, especially when, as a physician, I'm not really sure in that moment that they are going to get through it. But we all need a little hope. I also think I'm just very sleep deprived. I don't think I've slept more than 5 hours at a time since I've been here. And I haven't had any days off, which is my choosing. I think they would have been happy for me to have a day off, but I just felt like I'm here for a limited time and I wanted to do the most that I could do. It is April 28th and I'm about to head out to the airport. Just reflecting back a little bit on my experience here in New York. You know, I don't really know exactly what I expected. I hadn't really thought about the emotional toll. I had thought about the medical care and how challenging that could be since we don't know much about this disease. Of the people I took care of with COVID pneumonia, they all either have died or remain critically ill in the hospital at this point. Just in 2 weeks here, seeing this much death has been really, really hard for me. So they're already 5 or 6 weeks into this now. And even as things slow down and get a little bit better, they really need time to recuperate. And we don't know when things will get worse again, which I think is really psychologically challenging. I'm thinking about if there's a second wave, I would like to come back, and what are the skills I should try to gain between now and then to be the most helpful to people here. So I'll be thinking about all of them and hoping for the best. I am back home now in California. I just had a nasal swab done yesterday to see if I was COVID positive, which was not a pleasant experience. They take a swab and put it basically straight back, going back towards your brain. And then they do that on both sides, just, in case. And I got my result tonight and I am magically somehow negative. I really am perplexed as to how that's possible, given that I was really exposed to a lot of COVID for a couple of weeks for many hours a day. But I'll take it as a win. I mean, it could be a false negative, I suppose, but I'm gonna roll with that.